Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and wisdom of how they sold their first million.
How would you like to achieve your first million in sales? And today we're connecting from London to United States. So John, can you please introduce yourself?
I'm John Hewitt. I've been an entrepreneur for 42 years. I've built two chains. Jackson Hewitt has 6,000 locations, $500 million company, and Liberty Tax had 4,000 locations, a $500 million public company. And now we're starting Loyalty Brands, and I have 9 different franchise systems.
So John, tell us a little bit more. Why you decided to become an entrepreneur? What happened? If your father is an entrepreneur, do you have an entrepreneur in your family? What happened?
You hit the nail on the head. My dad was a frustrated entrepreneur. I was born while he was at Michigan State, and he had 3 more children before he left school. And we were poor, and he never got a chance to be an entrepreneur. So he finally reached out in 1981. He reached out. He was the CFO of a public company, and I was running 250 H&R Block offices. And he decided we should computerize income tax. So we both quit our jobs and built the first tax software for an Apple computer. So it's all due to my dad's influence.
Wow, so fantastic. So let's dig a little bit more. So your dad dreams was to become an entrepreneur, but he was working on all his time as an employee. And in the last point of your career, he managed to enroll you. You guys together decided to take a very risky thing to quit both your jobs and start and become an entrepreneur. This is a very risky thing to do. What the rest of the family thought? They thought that you guys are crazy, that you lost your mind, or you have some support around the family?
Well, they very quickly saw what a computer could do on a tax return in an interview with a customer, and it could make it a ordinary employee extraordinary by being a backbone and providing decision tree software. So they saw the product and fell in love with it. And they weren't into the economics of it. So we received good support.
Well, fantastic. And then, so how do you learn how to become an entrepreneur? Because completely different both thing. You and your dad, yeah, you have a dream, you want to become an entrepreneur, but now all of a sudden, you guys are not selling only your software as a product. Now you have to pay tax, you need to hire employees, you have to deal with a lot of things that you guys were not familiar. So how you embrace it? Did you divide the tasks? Did you learn from a friend? How you navigate this new world for you guys?
Well, in the United States, there's no school or classes on how to be an entrepreneur. Even today, that was 43 years ago. Even today, there are no classes.
I agree with you.
I call it the school of hard knocks. I took a lot of hard knocks and learned thousands of lessons over the year, but I had to get in the arena and fight and learn through experience.
Yeah, and then this happened the same to me, right? The biggest lesson is when I lose money, right? every time that you lose money, you say, oh, this was a mistake in business. We have to work on that, right? And I shared a lot with entrepreneurs here, right? That they say, okay, I want to do a master in business and administration, and I always tell them, listen, right, the best use of these 60,000 I'm going to spend a year is if you open a restaurant, because I did open a restaurant and lost over 200,000, but I learned my biggest lesson in business out of this. We can call it failure, right? So, what do you think, John? Do you think that entrepreneur, and we are starting from the hypothesis, right, that everyone can be an entrepreneur, because an entrepreneur is not a talent base, it's a skill base. It's like driving. meaning the more you practice, the better you become. Do you think that this is true, that anyone can be an entrepreneur? They just need to go to all the hard work that is required to develop the skill? Or do you think that the same talent is required to be an entrepreneur?
That's totally false. Not everyone can be an entrepreneur. In the United States, 70% of people want to be entrepreneurs, but only about half of them can do it. I brought in my career, I brought in 5,200 franchisees,
Wow.
and 1,000 of them were totally incapable of being an entrepreneur. They either didn't have the risk tolerance, they didn't have the self-starting. Even though they were a business owner, they didn't act like a business owner. They didn't understand these 10 simple two-letter words, the most important 10 two-letter words in everything, including being an entrepreneur. If it is to be, it is up to me.
Exactly. Yeah. And then, John, so how was it? So was your dad happy once the business took off?
Absolutely. I've created over 1,000 mentors.
Wow.
So yeah, as long what my job is to create a system of doing business that's best in the industry. I've been doing that for 55 years. I fondly call myself the great grandfather of franchise, because I can call myself a great grandfather now because I have 5 great grandchildren.
So, John, out of these franchises, do you have still one of them is related with technology, or they are all service based?
In 2024, technology is in everything.
Everywhere. I agree with you. So basically, all the 5 of the franchise that you guys run, they have a high component of technology, which is actually your strong suit, right?
Right. Remember, I started technology with my dad.
No. Yeah.
1981, 43 years ago. So we were leaders in technology 43 years ago.
Okay, now let's dig into this show, because there are certain stereotypes, and as you know, right? The richest people in the world, they are most of them are technology companies, right? So how much truth is in the hypothesis that if you become a tech entrepreneur and you design a AI software or software as a service like you back on the day, and you're gonna do very little effort and you're gonna become a billionaire really, really fast? How much truth is, because what we you have several franchises, as you might know, the valuation of tech companies is completely different than the valuation of different business. For example, somebody want to buy a restaurant, is like 3 to 5 times EBITDA or revenue or profit, right? However, when it comes to evaluation of tech company, a lot of elements go to place, like to the point that some companies like Uber or Netflix, maybe they don't make so much profit, and still they worth a lot because of the number of users and the engagement that these users have and the value that these data have, that even today we don't know how much is going to worth in the future. So how much different do you think that technology business are compared with the real brick and mortar business? And why is such a difference in valuation, and how truths are to reality this valuation that the tech company have today?
Well, I was there in 2000 when technology crashed.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing a demonstration to raise money for Liberty Tax when we were worth about $3 million and went on to become worth $500 million 10 years later. But wow. I was at a seminar or at a show in Baltimore where there was about 100 companies showing, and that right across from me was a company called balls.com, and they had technology. They sold every kind of ball: volleyball, baseball, football, and they raised $50 million on an online company called balls.com. and my company raised nothing. And my company went on to become worth 500 million, and their company went down to zero very quickly.
Oh, wow.
So technology is one thing, but you have to satisfy a customer's need. Right? I mean, is Amazon a technology company or or a wholesaler? I mean,
Huge online retailer, right?
exactly. And retail is Walmart. Walmart is trying to get, considers Amazon a threat. And so there are companies that have, is Facebook a software company, or are they a place where you meet? So it's not, you can't have technology by itself. It has to feel a need for the consumer.
Yeah. So why do you think, John, that for some venture capitalists, they get more attractive to the sound that, oh, this business is going to do X, Y, and Z, right? And for example, yours, you did have a solid business. It was very investable. Back then, you have a proof because you guys managed to sell it. The valuation went to 500 million after, so it was something solid. So what do you think that was the why they didn't see your vision, guys, and they went for something that people that have nothing in the back? And we see this, John, again and again now with the cryptocurrency, with the blockchain. Again, venture capitalists and VC go there following the dream, following this unicorn, and they throw millions of dollars where nothing is behind. And the solid company that actually have something, a service that can add value, they putting a lot of restriction. Nowadays we see the same thing, right? Nowadays, even if you have a product, right, the venture capital asking so much now from the startup owner. They want traction, they want product market fit, they want so many things because they have been they have lost a lot of money. So now they're putting a lot of barriers for actually young people like you that actually have a product at the beginning, that have something behind, and because it's tough to build it by yourself, right?
Exactly, and it comes from a desire for them to make money and make it fast.
Mm-hmm.
They're not thinking 10 years from now. They're thinking, I need to score. I need to have a 10 bagger in 5 years. And
especially
so
in the US, you guys want to go big, yeah?
They look for sizzle, and all of the people they send out to investigate are under 35 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And those people are involved in technology. And so it's the people that make the initial inquiry are always kids, right? And typically not far from being out of school. And they're taught to look for something that's exciting and something that can have an incredibly fast return.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, John, the more I'm getting into, I invest also in technology companies, and the more I hear about technology, because at the first time that we will put our hands in technology companies, everybody was telling me, Harry, you don't understand, technology is different. It's different than normal business because it has these parameters and other parameters. But the more than I see technology business, the more, John, I see that they are more similar to actually real business life, right? It needs to have a profit. It needs to solve a problem. It had to make sense. It doesn't matter that it's technology. Yeah, we can have some exceptional companies out there like Netflix or even WhatsApp or whatever that they were selling for a lot of money, and they doesn't have in a clear vertical of revenue when it was sold, right? But I think that these, John, are the exception, and because they are exception, they go to the press, to the newspaper, everybody read it, and then everybody believe that this is how it works. So which message do you have for tech entrepreneurs out there thinking that, I'm gonna build this gazillion pound company and all the VCs are gonna throw money at me, and I don't want to look at how traditional business it works, because this is not who I am. I'm gonna create the pattern, people are gonna make a zillion of money, and I'm gonna become a billionaire in 1 year. What message do you have for these tech entrepreneurs?
That's insane. It does happen, but it's one out of 10 million or 1 out of 20 million. So I prefer businesses I understand, niches I understand, and companies I understand, rather than I'm not great at creating a whole new industry, right? What I am, I took tax preparation and added computerization to it. But there was a strong niche and a Fortune 500 company I got to compete with.
Wow. So then, John, so what happened that day that they give 50 million to a company selling Babel Cup and everything, and this day you walk out of zero? So what happened to you? Did you decide, this is it, I'm quitting, this is not fair? What made you continue? Because it should be very disappointing day, right? Pretty upsetting, right?
Not at all.
Not for you?
Perseverance is the most important attribute in success, and they got to kill me to stop me. So we just went out and raised money in a different way.
Yeah. So yeah, I love technology. So what's your view on AI nowadays, John? Do you think that the AI actually is increasing productivity in business? Do you think that that is actually good for entrepreneurs? I remember back in the day, I'm originally from Cuba, so my English is no good. It took me a long time to write a letter. Now today you use ChatGPT and then you can write later really quick. And so there is a lot of productivity tools out there that can help entrepreneurs. How helpful do you think that this is coming from tech, or do you think that these tools, AI, yeah, they're helping you in the short term, but at the end of the day, they're keeping all their data, and 90% of the people don't even know what's happening with this data?
I think that in my observation of AI, and I watch it, I haven't seen it monetized at all. I haven't seen anyone take it and build an Amazon or build a Microsoft or build the Tesla. I haven't seen anyone take it. The only people making money are the ones selling chips, and like NVIDIA. No, I don't. I haven't seen it monetized properly yet. So the jury's still out.
Yeah, for the next thing to come. So, John, what are the 5 steps to make your first million?
There's the 5 most important things, and I already said one of them, and that's perseverance. God doesn't put anyone here to escape. Everyone faces adversity. Winners get up every time and keep going. You need to set big, hairy, audacious goals, right? If you set a goal, if you want to make $1 million, go for 20 million. Don't go for $1 million. Set big, hairy, audacious goals. You have to have drive. When you're an entrepreneur, no one's your boss. No one's there to say, get up and go to work, and you need to achieve this by tomorrow. So you have to have drive, and you have to have a fairly accurate vision of the future. That you need to look at the future and you don't have to be exactly accurate, but you have to have a fairly accurate view of the future. And all along the way, you have to monitor results, not activity. Do not be fooled by people that are doing things. Look for results and measure results. That's the key to success. And remember, I've helped 1,000 people get millionaires. So I've been very instrumental in changing lives. And those are the top 5 things.
Yeah. John, now let's talk about franchises, because yesterday I was having a pizza in Domino's, right? And I was reading all the brand story, right? How actually the logo, it comes from the first 3 stores that they opened in the United States. I saw in the world that said that they were making over 175 million dots every year in UK only, right? And they have marketplace in 7 of the 10 biggest markets of the world, and I think I remember they were in 33 countries, right? So what message do you have from them for people that say, oh, my business is amazing, I want to open a franchise? What is the key to success to have a successful franchise business? Because it sounds really good, but at the end of the day, if there is no value for the franchisee, if there is no win-win situation for everybody, it's not going to work. So how you can structure those deals? What advice do you have for entrepreneurs out there that want to franchise the business?
I've helped dozens of companies franchise, and I do a webinar every week. And 8 weeks ago I did an hour on what is it, and exactly that question. So that would take me an hour to answer the question. but the short answer, I have 2 very short pieces of advice. Should you franchise? No. Right? No, don't. Most franchisors fail. 80% fail.
Wow.
So my short advice is don't. My second advice, and you said it, you hit the nail on the head. And the reason they fail is one simple thing that you said it, you hit it. It's obvious. The goal of a franchise system is happy, successful franchisees. And the people that fail set up a system to have a happy, successful franchisor. And they don't think that, wait a minute, the franchisee has to make money and be happy. If your franchisees are making money and they're happy, you're unstoppable. If they're not, you're dead in the water. It's that simple. Happy, successful franchisees.
So, John, if somebody want to learn more about franchise and everything and your webinar, so how people can access this webinar? Do you have any website or any place that people can you share it with us?
Every one of them is recorded on loyaltybrands.com. Loyaltybrands.com.
I love the title. John, then let's talk about being a serial entrepreneur, because having one business is already difficult, right? Or you have to put your head right into that business. Yeah, I'm talking for experience, because back on the day I used to have several businesses, right? And I used to have a property business, used to have an English school business, and it's like I'm building like 5 brands at the same time, and it's really exhausted, right? Even today, I'm thinking in the other way. I'm building one business, which is Speakers and Leaders, and every time that I'm doing something, I'm trying to concentrate rather than dilute, right? So you guys have 5 businesses, 5 brands, 5 franchises group. Seems like a nightmare. So how you manage this? Because one thing is become an entrepreneur, completely different ball game is to be a serial entrepreneur, right?
Yeah. Again, my advice is to only have one. Focus on one industry, one company, one business. And then once you're worth a lot of money, once you're worth tens of millions of dollars, then you can diversify. Mm-hmm. But if you just want to be worth by $1 million, $5 million, $10 million, you need to focus. So Elon Musk, he started Tesla, mm-hmm. and then he started the space, mm-hmm. and now he's into social platform. Once you have enough money, you can diversify, but initially you need to focus.
Mm-hmm. And then, John, now let's talk about what we call it, the entrepreneurs and the 360 cycle of the entrepreneur. How do you mitigate your personal development? And I find you very calm. I find you very happy. I find you very articulated, right? It's not what I usually think with somebody that owns 5 businesses. They are like, oh, I don't have time. Hurry quickly. I have to run. I have to take the phone call. And come quickly. So how, and what's the point to make millions of dollars if you're gonna end up with a heart attack, or you don't have time for family and friends? So how do you manage to, because let's face it, even from your early career as an entrepreneur, building this tech business in that era, right, where everything was totally new, you know how it is. You're taking a lot of, like you described with us, a lot of setbacks, right? Like not finding funding. Maybe your first client doesn't want to pay you. Maybe your supplier doesn't want to pay you. Maybe who sent the computer to you, he sold you the wrong computer, and now you don't have more money to buy the new computer, and all this negative baggage, right? The more you grow, it keeps accumulating in your mind, in your head, in your unconscious mind. And if you don't manage to work on yourself to canalize and let that go, then this anger that you have, this frustration accumulated for years, is gonna show in all the business and everything you do. So how do you manage to find peace, to focus, to don't be angry, and to actually work on yourself? And how important do you think that personal development is for an entrepreneur like you that have several companies?
Boy, that's a complicated question. You asked me a lot of questions in there. I have a disdain for the trivial things, and so many people get bogged down in trivia. I stay with big picture, and the reason we call it loyalty brands is I have so many people that have been with me for decades. So
Wow.
it isn't, and I don't do any work. People laugh when I say that, but all I do is talk and train and monitor and mentor and give guidance. I don't do the work. I'm zero detail and zero trivia. And if it's a $7,000 item, sorry, that's not in my radar. You solve it. I let people make mistakes, and I promote the right people in the right place, and don't work very much myself. My job is, and I'm extraordinary, I think, at one thing, that is setting aside time for thinking and planning and strategizing. I spend a third of my time just thinking and planning and calculating, and almost no one does that. And so I'm always ahead of the game. I'm a chess master, so I'm always thinking several moves ahead. And other people, I leave the little stuff to other people.
That's a great way of doing it. And like this, John, if that's your third of your time, that you have the other time to rest, to work, to do things that you like that keep you balanced. Because in order I noticed, for example, that the more we travel, the more that we change our environment, a lot of good ideas come that actually can make a huge impact in the business. Is that the same for you? You prefer, if you were, so what's your view on this? If you use your third of the time just to strategize, right? How do you think that you're more effective, using the third of the time or using like double the time, and sometimes you're thinking too much and maybe might get overwhelmed and take the wrong decision? How you balance that? How you come with this method that you're gonna use the third of the time only to strategize it, when most of the entrepreneurs they don't do that. They spend most of the time in the operation.
That's just the way I was. The way that I mean, the way that I've always been. That I'm a delegator because I say it's because I'm lazy, and people laugh, right? Because I built 2 chains of $1.5 billion value in 10,000 offices, and they laugh at me, and I say I'm like Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer. Tom Sawyer was painting the fence, and Huckleberry Finn came along and volunteered to paint the fence for him. I'm looking for someone to paint my fences.
Okay, so John, the other question that we have is for the young people out there, right? I think that people think that become an entrepreneur is coming harder and harder, because a lot of competition and a lot of, especially in United States, that is very competitive. And every time that you talk about business in United States, everybody said, Harry, don't talk about business here because everything is invented. Here you are in the this is the big league, so being an entrepreneur here is tough. So what answer do you have for the people that think that being an entrepreneur in the United States is tough and everything is already invented? There is no point to do business there.
Well, everything. The patent attorney for the United States of America in 1899, the patent attorney for the United States of America, he wrote that this department should be shut down because everything that can be invented has already been invented. So that was
1989, yeah.
1899.
Oh,
1899, 125 years ago.
Wow.
And there was no such thing as automobiles or television or airplanes, or let alone a computer or online. He said everything's already been invented. That is so foolish. There are 3 certainties in life, Harry, 3 certainties in life. And most people understand death and tax. But do you know let me ask you this question. what is the third certainty in life? It's
That we're all gonna die, right?
that's death. It's death and taxes are the first two. The third certainty is, and Dennis Waitley wrote this 35 years ago, it's change. There's always going to be change. And we can't even fathom the change that's going to exist over the next, every year. The changes are accelerating. The changes in my life are accelerating over the last 30 years.
Then, John, let's talk about the fulfillment about when you mentoring and you help people out there. I think that this based in my greatest my experience. I remember that when I started the business, I was so driven. Oh, I want to make my first million. I want to make my first million. But then the day that I make it is after 3 days was gone. It was not really a big deal, and I'm back after 3 days with nothing. However, I do conference around the world about this topic, how to grow your business, and often happen to me in London that people stop me in the street. Harry, this is you. Look, man, these are my children. I opened my business. I hear you in this conference. You say this, and I did it. And look, I'm doing amazing. And this give me a huge level of fulfillment. I think honestly, more than £1 million in a bank account. So how do you feel when actually the people that you spend time with, the people that you coach, the people that you mentor, actually come back to you and say, John, you make a huge difference in my life, and now look, I'm happy with my family, and I'm traveling the world, and I own this freedom because you have been a role model for me, and I learn from you. How is that level of satisfaction on fulfillment? Or you still prefer to have the million in a bank account?
Well, before I tell you, let me say this, that 80 or 90% of the people do not come back and thank me, even though I've changed their lives. So I only hear from 10 or 20%. But I will say it the same way that Denzel Washington, the famous actor, said. He did a talk at a college, right? A graduation commencement speech, and he said, and I listened with interest. And the last thing he said, for a moment, I was shocked. He said the most. You know who the most selfish people in the world are? And he said it's people that help others, and get wealthy or do things. And I said, what? And he said, because they're so happy. They're selfish because they're so happy. They are the happiest people on the planet. So I am one of the happiest people on the planet. I go to sleep happy. I wake up happy. All day long, I'm aggravated by people. Most of my children are aggravating. Most of my friends are aggravating. Most of my employees are aggravating. But the few that aren't, or the occasion they aren't, where they're appreciative, makes up for all the aggravation. So it's the most rewarding thing that I could ever do. I'm 75 years old, and most people my age are long retired.
Yeah.
I continue going because there's nothing else I could do that would be more fun.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think that when you transform someone's life, the level of fulfillment, sometimes I discovered that I said, Harry, don't do it for them, do it for you.
Exactly.
Maybe so happy that that give you a level of fulfillment. This fulfillment, it comes back to you in terms of health, in terms of happiness. Because we want to have John for a long time. Yeah, we don't want to have John to be so successful and to die early of cancer like Steve Jobs and some entrepreneurs out there that have been so driven in their life that they forgot about to take care about the health, about the fulfillment, about what is to be contribution to others in terms of help them out. And I think that this is the best exercise for the mind. It's like the gym for the mind. Every time, like even now, John, this podcast, I'm so grateful. We are aware that your time is very valuable, and you've been so kind to spend time with our audience, sharing valuable information from people that have done it. I always say, completely different ball game is to to have someone that just read the book, open a book, read it, and talk about business. Completely different book game. Is actually serious entrepreneur than done and have achieved. So we are very grateful that you sharing this with us, but also again being a source of contribution for others. Let's talk about your children. Are they entrepreneurs? Are they feel threatened about because of you? Because at the end of the day, yeah, your dad want to become an entrepreneur, and you went to this path with him, but now you become so huge, and now you have children, and so the children want, some of them may want to be entrepreneur, but now, oh, that is so huge, and I don't know if I can fit his shoes, or how are you supporting them in the journey, or what's going on?
Yeah, they all either work with me or bought
Oh,
franchises
wow,
from me,
amazing.
and they all invested with me. So
Really?
in a
Wow,
way
that's
that
fantastic.
in a way they're all franchisees, but one never the only one never owned a business out of the my children.
Say again, John. So they haven't owned the business yet, no? They're all
Right,
franchises.
right, or they've all been in the journey somehow.
Yeah, but again, they have, the support. I think that it's allowed them to give their own space, because we have to, obviously all the children want to be like the parents, right, and want to achieve, right. But I think they need to have their own space, their own time. They have to have the setbacks and the failure by themselves, right? Or can you do?
Exactly,
All you can do is just give them support and say, "Hey, I'm gonna give you the same advice that I give to everybody I talk to me," and
exactly.
yeah, and let them grow. Yeah, I think that so what are your biggest one of your biggest setback that you have in business? How you overcome it?
Wow, I've almost went bankrupt
I know that
twice.
you have thousands, but just pick
Right.
one.
Yeah, they say the people that make the most mistakes,
Mhm.
the most successful have made the most mistakes. So I have so many thousands of we almost went bankrupt because the Internal
Wow.
Revenue Service almost ruined the industry in 1995. So I had to go out
So what
and
happened? The industry changed overnight.
it was a long story about it. It took me an hour to explain what the IRS did,
Okay.
but they almost destroyed the income tax industry,
Oh, wow.
and we almost went bankrupt. We had to cut. I mean, almost we had to lay a couple people off. Everyone else took a 50% pay cut. I
Wow.
worked for nothing for, and we had to tighten our belts to get to the next tax season. It's a seasonal industry. So, and I rallied the troops and circled the wagons, and we lived through it. And when you live through adversity like that, you come out on the other side even stronger.
You come back in the different form, right? I always said that the entrepreneurs. The other day I was in a conference, right? And someone was saying something. Was say, "Oh, if you find an entrepreneur that has failed 4 times, don't invest in that entrepreneur, because for track record, you're gonna lose your money, right?" And I'm thinking like, wow, this guy already failed 4 times. I think this guy, the only thing is net to help to put them in the right track. He has the perseverance to failing and come back again. And I think that this is something that is not, in my opinion, it's not like it's bad to a record. Actually, it's good to a record. I was about to tell the guy, I said, listen, if you guys don't want to invest in this guy, introduce it to me. I think I can do something with that guy, yeah, because he's so driven. So what do you think in terms of how you deal with failure? Because everybody talk about dealing with failure, but actually to navigate that and how you design to come back stronger.
Well, you have to understand, number one, that you are going to face failure and that you are going to make mistakes,
Guarantee,
and
yeah.
you are
There is
going to
no
face
school, right?
adversity. Yeah, it's you just have to be prepared to and realize that perseverance is the key to anything. Long-term success is perseverance. So first of all, you have to be ready for it. And when you can, you have to have plan B and plan C. If this happens, then this is what we're going to do. So you have to be able to react quickly and smartly and without fear, without emotion. And you have to, I never look back and say, what if? I'm always saying, okay, this is where we are. So how do we're going to have to take a different, it's different than where we thought we were going to be. It's going to take a different journey, but our goal is the same. Our goal is the same. We have to take a different path to get to our goal.
So, John, we started this conversation like something you say very well, right? There is no school to be an entrepreneur. There is nowhere to learn there in the United States, right? Apart from reach you, because I'm sure that the guys that reach you from your website and listen to this podcast, they can get a great help for you. Any resources that you can share with our audience, the people that want to start the entrepreneur journey and they don't know where to start? Like, for example, when you, back in the day, when you started, what did you did? What resources did you use? It was just trial and error? Did you pick a book? Any role model that you follow? Where do you get your inspiration? And now, after being a serial entrepreneur and build so many different franchises and a huge successful business, what resources can you recommend for the people that want to start a business and want to go to 0 to 1?
Well, number one, I just did a webinar an hour on should I be self-employed or not. So you can.
Wow, I love the title of this one. How can we access this webinar? What is it?
It's on loyaltybrands.com. All my webinars.
Oh, okay, loyaltybrands.com.
Right.
I love the title of this one.
Right. Should I be self-employed? So I talk about all that, but also we give guidance as to what you should read and various things to work on during your journey.
That's very important. I'm grateful for that because I think that people out there, they need resources, right? And again, there is a lot out there, that people they're teaching about business because they wrote a book or they go to university to study business and and yeah, you can learn a lot of theory, but at the end of the day, until you don't, and you know what I'm talking about, until you're not there running the business, you're not gonna learn, and no one better than you that point to people out there the right resources and the training and the education they need. How important do you think that is training, education, in resources for entrepreneurs before they start the business?
It's extremely important that it's the right time, the right resources, the right niche, but you have to have a niche and you have to have a system and build a system or acquire a system as a franchisee. You have to have a system of doing business. You have to have a niche and you have to have the resources to live another day.
How important do you think there are mentors in business? Back on the day when you started, you didn't have a mentor. You started all by trial and error. It was painful. You lost a lot of money, a lot of energy, a lot of setback. If you have a mentor back on the day, that someone that had done it before and kind of show you the blueprint, do you think that this will make a huge difference in terms of getting your shortcut or still? How important do you think that is mentorship in business for the young entrepreneurs starting right now?
I didn't have any business mentors, but I read everything that I could that was a autobiography. Sam Walton, Walter Avis.
That were your mentors, right?
Steve Jobs. I read the books by the great entrepreneurs about themselves, and they were my mentors. No one physically gave me advice that I found valuable, that I found incredibly valuable.
Yeah. But then, John, in your opinion, everyone that wants to become an entrepreneur, if they can read some material, find a mentor, how helpful do you think would be?
I would be careful. I would say usually the mentor you find is the wrong person.
Agree. Yeah.
What I've seen is that, in Rich
Dad, you need to find the right mentor, right?
Yeah, he
Someone
said,
actually done it, correct?
Yeah, exactly. 90% of people give you advice, but only 5% have been successful. So be careful who you listen to. 10 to 20 times, you're going to be wrong 10 times as much as you're right in listening to people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's about to find the right mentor, to make sure that, if he's in the and make sure that this mentor is in the same industry you are, or actually have achieved the goal that you actually are wanting to achieve, right? And I think by the way I see a lot in internet, in the social media, like everybody, like you, right? And I think that for the way that some people talk, you can tell that they haven't seen $1 million in their life, right? So but they do they say what the entrepreneurs want to hear, right? And it's very easy to fall into that trap. That correct?
Exactly. 90% of the time, you're going to listen to the wrong person.
Yeah. So for all the entrepreneurs there, remember, mentors are important, but you have to do due diligence and make sure that from whom you're seeking help is actually have done it and have the have the blueprint that can guide you properly, right? So what is your next plan, John? Are you going to travel? Any more franchises? How many new webinars are you gonna do? Any new title of webinars? I like the title of your webinars a lot. Any new ones that you're planning to do? More resources for the entrepreneurs out there?
Yeah, I do one every week. So everyone has a unique
Different
title.
title?
I try to answer the most common questions that I've had in my life. In bringing in 5,200 franchisees, I've interviewed 20,000 people to get to 5,200. So I've answered a lot of questions from people, and I take the toughest questions and address them.
That's fantastic. Yeah. So, and with that note, we're going to conclude your podcast. John, this has been fantastic. A lot of content. Yeah. And if you are listening this podcast, remember, if you're thinking that you have a very good company and this company can be franchised, before you take the next step, contact John in his website. Yeah. And listen carefully. For sure, he can review your business model, and if there is potential for franchising your business, he's one of the most qualified person that I ever interviewed that can help you out. But if he's telling you that is bad idea, listen to his advice, because remember, the priority, as your chair with us today, is the franchisee, right? If you make happy that person, everything is going to work out fantastic to you. So it's how the model is designed sustainable. So this franchisee is happy. So it's been an honor and a pleasure, John. And so for you, John, after the podcast, please send us also the website, your resources. We're going to put in the description. And for every single one of you entrepreneurs out there that want to start a business or grow your business more than $1 million, see you in our next episode of Unstoppable, how brave entrepreneurs like John break that wall and achieve the first $1 million. Bye for now. Thank you so much, John.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first $1 million so you can grow your business exponentially.